In this video, we're going to take you through how to pass your upcoming Advanced Performance Management examination, speaking with a national prize winner from Mauritius in Angkush, who has kindly come on the channel today on his debut, ladies and gentlemen, to share his insight. So Angkush, feel free to introduce yourself, my friend.
Hi everyone, my name is Angkush. I am from Mauritius and I work as an accounting educator in a public secondary school in Mauritius.
Nice. And we're just going to get straight into it, Angkush. Imagine if you had to go and do the APM exam again. What went well for you? Like, if a student's watching this, they've got 2 months to prepare, 3 months, how would you go about it? How would you get that good mark again to get you the pass and to get you over the line to becoming an ACCA qualified member?
Well, I think firstly, I must admit that APM is a quite scary paper because judging by the pass rate, by the low pass rate of around only 30% each
Mm,
sitting, many students don't like taking this paper. I decided to take this paper because the previous paper which I did was SPL,
mhm.
and I looked at the ACCA manual, which showed that there is a link between SBL and APM. At first, I was a bit doubtful because of a low pass rate. But then I told myself, why not at least give it a try?
Mhm.
Again, I used the same technique that I used for SBL. The first thing which I did was to download the Open Tuition notes.
Mhm.
But here stuff got a little more complicated because APM is somehow more technical.
Yeah.
It's technical. It's more technical on so many grounds that by just reading the notes are very good, by the way, on Open Tuition. But by just reading the notes, one cannot assure himself or herself that a pass can be earned. So I had to do more work. If I compared with my previous paper, it was more hard work.
Yeah, a higher standard. I found the same thing when I did advanced audit assurance, advanced taxation. I thought, I've done these previous papers. I'll be okay. I'll apply the same level of effort. There was definitely a jump, I would say, on there. And I think for someone who's maybe just starting to go through APM, having that as an expectation to go, right, I've heard from James and I've heard from Ankush. These guys have done it on there already before. They've done these hard papers. I think that would definitely be my first thing, and not to underestimate it, that you can take shortcuts as well. Is that you agreeing? Do you agree on that, or?
I missed the last part.
Oh,
Could
right.
you?
Sorry. So it's making that jump on there. The viewers are there going, he must agree
Okay.
with that because it's very, very difficult on there. But you touched on the technical aspects of APM. How did you go about going through the different areas of the syllabus, really understanding it? What worked well for you?
I think what worked best for me was, again, I started from the very basics, from the free resources that are available on YouTube. Once I completed the reading on Open Tuition, I watched a few of the free lectures.
Hmm.
I went on YouTube, looked for as many tutors as I could, APM tutors, of course, tried to see their way of working and so on. But then I told myself that if I wanted to pass this paper, I needed some extra help because I needed to know how to structure my answer, how to
Mm.
discuss, how to analyze, because this paper was somehow different to SPL. So what I did during the last month, I enrolled in a crash course from an institution called Vifi.
Hmm.
And luckily, all the lectures were available. They were pre-recorded lectures. They were live sessions. And that's where I understood what was wrong in my way of revising, what could be added in my answer to make me scrap it pass. So for this type of paper, for APM, it was very, very, very important for me to take up a course, to take up a crash course from an expert tutor who was Mr. Rizwan Mania.
Fantastic. And what are some of those mistakes that you were making in the past, and then you changed and put into practice better practices on there in your revision?
Initially, while answering the questions, given that I had just completed SBL, I used to answer the questions the same way I used to answer SBL questions. Somehow, given that both papers are linked, it seemed to me that I was in the right direction, but my way of answering the questions were good. But then when I compared it to the examiner's report, to the model answers, watching debriefs on YouTube, I could clearly see that, okay, that's not enough to earn a pass. I had to change my way of answering the question, my way of analyzing the question, my way of finding facts, figures, important pieces of information from the scenario given. Everything changed.
Brilliant on that. And whenever I think of APM, I always think well, lots of people think it's just calculations as well. They think, oh, it'll be a lot like the PM exam, your sort of variances and maybe budgets on there. How would you describe the sort of the calculations on the exam and then the narrative, the written parts?
I think the narrative part, from what I can still remember, it was above 80%. Surely above 80%. I remember sitting for my exam, and there was almost no calculation that had to be done. Yes, within your answer, yes, there could be some calculations that one can do to get a better answer while writing for comparisons and so on, to see the trends and so on. But as far as calculations themselves, I did not get questions on calculate EVA, for example. Luckily, I did not get this. But if I had to just give you a percentage, it would be 80-20%.
Lovely on that. And are there any other things that from when you sat your APM exam that looking back now, is there anything maybe you would have changed, or would you have started doing maybe mock papers a lot sooner? But what if you had to sit the exam again? We're recording this in March. If you had to do it in June or September, like how long do you think you need to prepare for it? What would you maybe change differently?
I think during that period for me, I was a bit of a risk taker, because I did the studying, revision, everything in 2 months. I decided
Wow.
to take the risk. And luckily I got a paper in which I got the questions and the chapters that I revised. There were one or two chapters that I did not like. Therefore, I did not revise these intensively. And luckily, again, I did not get these in my paper. But looking back, if I had to give myself an advice, I would have told myself to take out some more time, because you can complete one paper in two months because you're good at it. We can be good at a paper, but then another professional paper you can take a bit longer, take 3 or 4 months, just to be sure that when you're sitting for the paper, you're more confident. That does not mean that I was not confident while sitting for the paper, but I always knew it was like a bit of a gamble for me. If I get this, I might not pass. And
Yes.
luckily, I didn't get what I did not know and revise.
Yes. Well, the syllabus is so wide as well. You've got so many different areas. How did you go about actually going through each different one? Did you sort of maybe check it off to do one area a day, or did you have a target whereby a certain date you would have all the chapters done? What sort of worked well for you to keep you
Um,
motivated?
Actually, my way of working is I download the syllabus, I print it. I select all chapters that I like, that I find easy, that I find that I can work without much difficulty. I focus on these first, because like we always say, focus on your strengths first. So this is what I did first. I focused on the chapters which seemed easy to me. I did all the past papers, practice questions, and then gradually as I progressed, because when you do the questions, when you revise the chapters that you like first, it somehow boosts up your confidence, gives you the motivation to keep going. Because if someone starts with a chapter that is very difficult, that he or she might not like, the probability of feeling demotivated at the very start is quite high. This is not how I did it. I did the easy chapters first, the ones which I liked first, did out questions, self-mop myself. Once I got the confidence in that, okay, I can pass this paper, I did the medium questions later on, then difficult chapters. It continued like that.
Right.
Because from my opinion, you will never have a paper, whether it's taxation, auditing, SBL, or even APM, you will never have a syllabus where you're going to like everything, unless you're a genius, of course.
There might be someone watching this, Ankush, you're going, APM, easy, it's all right, but I highly doubt that because it's a very, very tricky exam on there for it. But again, we touched on it before. There are some areas like ethics that you should expect for it to come up. There are some areas such as just getting good with the CBE platform, using all these little things to your advantage. It comes with time, and I hope that's coming across in our lovely chat today, that you've clearly put in so much time going through the syllabus. You've backed it up with technical articles on there as well, along with time spent on the CBE platform, doing all the mocks possible on there. Did you ever read the examiner's report as well to help you pass?
I always do it, but I don't do it initially. I do it like 2 to 3 weeks before the exam, when I'm ready to sit for one paper at one go, one full paper. That's when I look at the examiner report to compare my answer, to just have an insight if okay, am I at least getting closer to what the examiners are expecting or not? Because if one goes through the examiner's report from the first few weeks itself, one will feel discouraged because the expectations are quite high, the standards are quite high. So this is something which I would advise students to don't take it in the initial weeks. Once you feel confident about the chapters, the questions, when you are able to answer the questions on your own without looking at the notes and so on, then you compare it with the examiner's report.
Yes, exactly. And also with your answers, applying them to the scenario, making sure they're specific to what they're being asked for. You just can't get away with learning things from the core text and then just putting that in your answer for the topic that it refers to on there. Do not fall into that trap as well. But Ankush, I have to ask, are there any other final things that you want to make sure you have on record to help a student to get that 50 plus? Is there anything that we haven't touched on so far?
My advice as far as APM is concerned, we can get really long and bulky questions where there are a lot of information available. And on the exam day, we cannot possibly retain and process all this information. What we can do as students, read the scenario and try to retain the information which we believe could help us to answer the parts of the requirements. Just because you've missed out on an important information that was given in the question doesn't mean that you cannot answer the question. So my advice would be, read the scenario, highlight the important stuffs. It's okay if you miss out on some important information, but that does not mean that you will automatically fail. No, from what you can still remember, from what you can still retain, use these to answer your question.
No, really good points there. And even just that, to add the basics of making sure you're answering all 100 marks on the actual exam, getting your time management down to a T so you know when to be moving on from question to question on there, reading the requirement properly. There's so many answers that I read through and I go, it's a lovely answer. Don't get me wrong, fantastic answer, but you actually haven't answered the question that we're being asked on here. You've not read the requirement through. So even don't overlook and miss the. I used to like looking through the mark schemes at the back of the mock papers as well to say these are the areas that I should have been referring to. Now let's have a look at the areas that I did refer to, and then that's again where you're going to build up on those extra few marks on there, I would say. But
And
oh yeah.
If I can add, the way we write also can make the difference, because sometimes we can use words that are going to put us in a, how do I say that, in a more safe spot,
Hmm.
without trying to tell the examiners this is black or this is white. We can use words like this seems that, it appears that,
Mm.
words like, just to show the examiner that we believe we have this opinion, but it can be contradicted by someone else or even ourselves. So
Mm.
the use of verbs is very important.
Yeah, I'll completely agree with you. And thank you so much, Ankush, for all of your insights today and your debut on the channel. Well, guys, if you want access to all the free resources, not just this one, but others on the channel, make sure you subscribe. And of course, like this video. If you've got any questions for me or Ankush, the comment section is down there, along with I'll put Ankush's LinkedIn as well. Keep in touch and let us know how you get on in your exam. Any final things, Ankush, that you want to make sure you get on record just to wish the students well?
The journey is long, but bear with it, because the rewards are even better.
That's all right. That's super stuff. Well, thank you so much, guys. Have a great day. Good luck with your revision, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.